What I said was, it wasn't biased abuse. I would have given
That's
the
true.
items to anyone
That's true.
who
It
bought me the
wasn't
game.
biased abuse. It was still abuse. Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why I left. I can't fix it if it's going on at the top.
Well, it's not just
with
me, though.
not with the limited amount of time I had available. You
What I
guys
did
are so
pales in comparison to what
frustrated.
Dwight and Rizzo himself has done.
You know what? I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that
But
Dwight is
you're in here
objective.
bitching at me about it.
I'm not bitching at you about it specifically. I'm saying I wouldn't have brought Coops on because of his history. You can't exactly get rid of an owner. I mean, unless he plans on selling the server. And if he's selling the server for something relatively decent, tell me, I'll buy it.
Decent in what way? Reasonable in what way, rather?
The server is operating in red right now, so, you know.
Right.
Don't spill your popcorn, Eric. Anyways, that's why it's one of the main reasons why I left, because seeing what was going on, and Dwight did good. When I was there, Dwight was doing very well. He was sticking to his guns. He was being open and communicative. He was following through. You guys were starting to give objective, unbiased feedback on applications, and that was great. And then as soon as I left, it all went to hell in a handbasket. All of a sudden, it's friends being promoted, and that's pretty much it. People who had previously abused. When you've got people in your community who not only don't abuse, but really want to see the server thrive. You should see the number of messages I've received, not just on the DAEGONNER forums, but people who have come over to Cosmic to beg me to come back. Please save DAEGONNER. And I have to tell them no.
You don't have to tell them no, you choose to.
I do. No, I have to tell them no, because when I choose to take on that role, I make a promise to the community. And in order for me to keep that promise, I have to do an objective evaluation of the amount of time needed. The amount of time that DAEGONNER needs...
I've already read the explanation.
...is 16 to 22 hours a day. I don't have 16 to 22 hours a day.
Right, but you could fix the reason why it would require that much time, and then spend 1 to 3 hours.
I would have to completely neglect the other servers that I represent.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would, because it would require...
You had more power than Dakota and I myself at the time, and you could have done anything that you needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I needed to do was babysit everybody, and train everybody, and teach everybody, and I didn't have the time to do that. I was told when I stepped in that everything for the most part at the upper levels was copacetic. And that wasn't the case. That amplified my workload dramatically. And so I had to take a look at it objectively. The amount of time it would take to get you guys where you need to be was more hours than I had available. It's not that I didn't want to, Alex. I'd have given my eye teeth. You ask Eric. I was devastated to step down. But I have to be realistic. One of the last things I said in the staff chat, or in the TeamSpeak, I don't remember which, was that we needed to look at people other than Ganja members for staff. We brought on a bunch of Ganja members. Not that Ganja's bad. Ganja members, I think, are great. But to show the community that we were being open and objective, to consider people from other factions would be immensely important.
It's not that we're not open and objective.
Okay, listen, you have to understand the way you're being perceived.
Of non-toxic players.
No, listen,
I understand that I'm being
true.
perceived as biased.
No, not only are you are biased.
How am I biased? How is it not just a perception?
How
is it not your perception and your assumption that I'm biased?
KL is better than
I didn't promote
15
KL. That was
other
Dwight
different
himself.
players. Regardless, I'm using it as an example.
You're using it as an example against me.
No, not against you, against the staff team. The
Right, but you're
decisions
calling me
should
out
come from the
specifically.
staff team. I'm
You're not
talking
speaking
with
to
you.
you're not
I'm
speaking to the staff
speaking with
entirely.
you. I'm
Precisely.
speaking with you.
And
You are the
therefore
head
can
of
only
staff,
assume.
yes? Is there
No.
anybody else in the head of staff position?
Dwight. He's already ruled multiple of my decisions regarding the staff.
Then you're going to need to tell him. I don't know if you can tell him. I don't know that you would have been able to tell me in that situation. I told Dwight what needed to be done. I told you guys what needed to be done. Alex, you and I didn't speak regularly, but I think I was pretty straight up about what I saw needed to happen for DAEGONNER to come back. Consistency, transparency, accountability. Your community needs to be able to trust your staff team. They don't. That's what's killing DAEGONNER.
I don't believe that. It's been going
Well,
on
your
for...
community says otherwise. It's been
The
going on for
community
how many
says a lot of
months?
things.
No.
It's been
Your
going
community
on
is
since
seeking me out on other servers.
August
begging me.
2013.
Mm-hmm.
Dwight and Scrubble both abused for their friends, and at the time the server had 505 out of 500 players.
You know what?
Went
There
on for
once was a
months.
time that Rob and Preston used to abuse for their friends too.
Right, but you're saying what's killing the server is the abuse.
Yeah, absolutely, and the fact that they can't trust the staff.
Eric.
Community can't trust you. That is like the worst situation for you to be in.
You want to take a poll?
You've got nobody backing you right now,
You
as
want to
far
take
as
a
like the
poll?
bulk of the community is concerned. I'm not going to take a poll.
I trust all the staff.
So-
I'm just gonna put that out there. You
I'm just letting you know objectively.
So you don't want to prove that no one trusts me?
I don't need to
But the
prove it
majority of
because
the
your
community
community
doesn't
was
trust
straight up.
They were angry because of their bias against two of the staff members promoted.
Absolutely.
And you don't see an issue with that. You don't see an issue with them being angry with me because I promoted two staff members who have had previous experience and have proven themselves as good staff members in the past.
And
Made
abusive,
small
hold on,
mistakes.
abusive staff members. First and foremost, abusive staff members.
Name a
Abusive
single
staff members.
Name a single player who you think would not be abusive in regards, let's say, one of the friends.
Oh, fuck friends. There's a reason why I don't play on the servers that I manage.
Well, you can't expect
First
all
thing
the
I said
players
to
on
Eric when
DAEGONNER
he
not to make
submitted his...
friends prior to
First
becoming
thing I
helper.
said to Eric...
That's just what factions is.
First thing I said to Eric when he applied for staff is, you know, I think you'd be a great staff member, but definitely not right now. My first concern is and always will be the community. End of story. Your community's pissed off because you brought back in people who are known to have broken the rules.
Right. What I'm asking you is, can you suggest anyone who you don't think would break the rules?
Yeah, me. But I wouldn't work as a helper under you.
Aside from yourself.
Scrap is good. Scrap is really good.
Someone who isn't staff already.
He was staff.
He still is staff.
I know he is. He's standing there in our slime pit with no slimes. Thank God, I hate this slime so much. Look, I'm not going to give you name specifics. That's what I rely on the staff team for.
So you don't have any names.
Why would I give names, ever?
Why would you not? If you
Lizardman would be great if he weren't part of Ganja. He would actually be a spectacular staff member. If he ever applied on Cosmic, man, I would so push his name straight through to my staff team.
Because of a bias towards him, not against him.
No, I don't have a bias towards him. I
How do
actually
you
have
not?
a genuine understanding of how his brain works.
Precisely, but that is
He has never
in and of
abused.
itself, that is a bias.
Let's look at the difference. Okay, so let's look at the difference. The person that you brought on abused in the past. The person that I'm recommending right now hasn't abused in the past.
Nor has he been staff on DAEGONNER to my knowledge, so...
Okay, so, I mean, you're just going with what's comfortable. It's not my fault that you're going to be biased.
How am I being the one biased when you're suggesting someone who's never been staff before, and I picked someone who has been staff before, with more experience than you were... Precisely. But
Who
listen,
abused your community. Oh my god, if any one
Not
of
the
my staff
community.
members ever fucking abused my community, they would no longer be staff. They would be shunned from the community. I wouldn't have to ban them. They would be so horribly embarrassed they would change their IP and their IGN and never speak of it again.
speaking rather highly of yourself.
It's the truth.
Them rhymes.
I have had one staff member in 2 years who abused. One staff member in 2 years who
Then you
abused.
have a much better community than what DAEGONNER has.
No, see, that's where you're wrong. When I walked into Cosmic, it was a toxic cesspool. When I walked into Arkham, it was a toxic cesspool. When I walked into MC Legends, it was a toxic cesspool. I busted my ass to clean that community up. I busted my ass to build that server up. I busted my ass to help with sales. I trained the staff personally. I care about them as family. There's something going on one of my servers, I'm there. End of story. It doesn't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter if I've had 5 minutes sleep or an hour's sleep. When we were being DDoSed in December 2014, I got 4.5 hours sleep the first week and 5.5 hours sleep the second. That's how much I bust my ass for my community. You know why my community supports me and the staff team? We're accountable, we're transparent, we're straight up, and we're unbiased.
User joined your channel.
You want to know what'll save a community? I can tell you, because I've saved many. And don't tell me that I am biased in who I choose for staff on the servers that I work with.
If you have an opinion, it is therefore biased.
No,
So if
it's
you've ever had
not.
an
You can
opinion,
have
it
an
is
objective
biased.
opinion. Just because Alex isn't capable of being objective doesn't mean Ypperin isn't.
Sounds again like you're speaking rather highly of yourself. Is that a bias towards yourself and against me?
Sounds to me like you're trying to banter and you're just failing, Alex. It sounds to me like you're insecure and you're watching the server you care about die. And rather than hearing some constructive criticism, you're trying to throw mud back at me.
Thus far,
I've told you why your community is upset. I've told them they have every right to be upset.
You haven't listened to anything I've said, though.
I've heard exactly what you said. Okay, so they have experience being staff and abusing as staff. And you brought them on. And then your community got upset, and you stood by that decision because you believe
Do you
they've
know
changed.
why they got upset?
Sure, tell me.
Precisely then, you haven't been listening.
I mean,
I've
listened to your community. I'm sorry your community has sought me out. When somebody toxic from the DAEGONNER community tried to post me giving somebody trouble in the TeamSpeak on the Cosmic forums, Cosmic had a great laugh at it, said the kid was roasted and should have known better. That's how much support I have on Cosmic. You bring on one staff member and the whole community freaks out on you.
It's
Then you
not
bring out another one.
because of what he's done in the past, though. It's because they don't like him as a person. Regardless
That
of
he shouldn't be brought on.
how can you say that, though?
What do you mean, how can I say that? What do you mean, how can I say that?
What
You
you're
should be
saying
bringing in people who work well with the community, are not constantly at
I never
odds
said he
with the
didn't work well with the community. What I
Obviously,
said
he
was they
doesn't.
don't like him personally. He's never transgressed against the community himself. They just dislike him as a person. For whatever reason, they have something against him.
The whole community has decided that they don't like him for no reason whatsoever. You need to give your head a shake, Alex. It doesn't work
That's not the
that
whole
way.
community. You're saying like 4 or 5 people came and told
It's
you
not. It's not just 4 or 5 people. That's what I'm saying.
Go back through the threads
Yeah,
made.
but like I've
look
never
who,
had
look who
anybody complain
negatively
about it.
posted,
Hold
and then
on.
look who positively posted.
Go back through the history of DAEGONNER,
Back.
and you tell me why DAEGONNER is suffering.
Dupes. Many dupes.
Dupes, abuse. Abuse was the biggest concern brought to me by the community.
Bruh, hashtag big crap.
You don't realize that
Hashtag
they
Big
call
Craft
abuse
2.0.
on every little thing, though,
I
regardless as
do
to whether
realize
it's
that.
not.
That's why staff should be transparent and accountable. When I walked into Cosmic, it was the same thing. Abuse, 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 abuse. The previous admin used to frickin' magic in crap for his friends. Abuse,
But that's
abuse,
not
abuse,
what's
abuse,
happening.
abuse.
They call
That-
biased abuse regardless as to what we do, and then when we explain the situation, they don't listen to the explanation. That was abuse. But Jack got demoted multiple times, and Dwight brought him back multiple times, and the community still had very little against